Okay, back again. Just thought I'd bring you back to show you what I've got going on today. Essentially what I'm trying to do now is, because that point and this point over here aren't welded in, they could be too far forward or back, or actually too high or too low, either side. Because I'm looking at the roof and it's not in there correct right now, and before I start measuring door gaps between here and the tops of the pillars back there, it's really important that I make sure that what I'm working with is square. So what I'm doing is taking two known points, and the best scenario that I can come up with is the front, this line here. This is the only true line that I think I should run off of, purely because it's vertical, and it's not vertical that way, but it is vertical this way. And then also another defining point that I can go from this point onwards is because the doors come off of that, and then the rear of the vehicle comes off of it, and generally this is called the datum point. So for me, this is what I started off with the frame build. So when I started the frame build, it's the 0 point. So my datum point, I started from that beam there. So I'm going to continue that. So this panel, this panel here runs true to that line, and I'm going to run my datum point from that. So purely because, you know, this vehicle is quite rough, and I want to try and make sure it's all going to run true on the road and that sort of stuff. So in saying that, a lot of these things are a bit bent and buckled. This was a little bent, so what I'm going to run with is those two bolts. So that bolt there, which is the keeper for this, and they're both at the same height on the frame either side. So you've got one there. Now I'm just saying, for instance, that if this panel is slightly off by a couple of millimeters, then it doesn't matter, because what I'll be doing is running from that bolt, which will give me my door and all of my heights. So that being said, what I'm going to do now is I've set up my laser level, which I've used throughout this build. Yeah. So at the back, you'll see on the back window, if you look at the back window, there's a slight pen mark. Actually, I'll go up there and I'll show you. So what I've done is I've measured exactly in the center of this. So from here to here to center. So this is the center of the vehicle now. This is how it's going to run. Everything else can be bent and buckled out from that point. So I've also got a center point, this bead mark here, and there's a Nico pen or a Sharpie pen mark up the top, and then also down the bottom here, this is the center point of the vehicle right here. So if you continue a line up there, you get that point, you catch that point, you'll catch that point, and then you'll catch the glass at the back. Now I had a center point that I thought the roof should be at, but you know, your eye always tells you when something's not right, and I stood right back and I just knew that it wasn't quite right. So I mean, it's there, but it's not there, if you know what I'm saying. So what I'll do is I'll shut the garage door, and you'll be able to see the laser throughout the vehicle now. I don't know how well the camera's going to pick it up, but you really want to be looking at the bolt there, or the nut there, and the nut over here, and that'll give you a reference as to whether the vehicle is sitting square. I know the frame is sitting square, so now I'm trying to build everything up off of it. So if this, remember, I didn't have any of this stuff, so none of this stuff was here. So what I did is I just put a piece in there that I thought would be roughly the correct height, and over that side as well. And funnily enough, I had to put something underneath it yesterday to lift it up, because it wasn't sitting square when I was welding this. So I've got a vise under that, and it's lifting it up probably a centimetre from where I originally had it. So anyway, what I'm going to do now is shut the garage. It'll dim the lights, and you'll be able to see whether I'm level at that point over there and this point here, and then true through the center of the vehicle. And then I'll show you some other stuff as well. Okay, so now you can see the laser level, and I know it's a little hard to see, but it's dead center in the center of that bead line there. And if you look down here, it's in the center of the bead line there. And if you look over there, you'll see that it's, you probably can't see it, but that bolt, it's right in the center of it. And then if you go over this side, it's right in the center of it. Sorry, my hand's in the way, so what I'll do is I'll try and get up from above. So yeah, there it is. That's the bolt, and you'll see the laser through it. Same as that side over there. So now I know that I've got my datum point, or the center of the vehicle. Sorry, I'll bring you back. I know that I've got the center of the vehicle square, vertical, horizontal, and square. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to weld this side in. This side I need to make some more parts for, but I'm going to get this side in. And then from that point on, I've also, you may not be able to see it, but I'll go up there. If you look really close, the laser level is right on that pen mark. So I know it fades out a little bit, but I've got a bit of extra light in here at the moment, so if I'd blacked the whole place out, you would have seen it, but obviously I wouldn't be able to film. So suffice to say that that laser line, the center line, is directly in the center of the vehicle at the rear of the vehicle, and it's directly in the center of the vehicle at the start of the vehicle. So I'm looking good. So now it's a matter of you know, working bits out. And also another good thing is I can check my horizontal against the back. This drops a little bit at the back, so I can lift it up or drop it down with a jack now and weld that back section in. But I'm definitely going to just throw a tack in there now. I'll turn the light on and show you probably what my next step's going to be. So yeah, that's at the correct height now. I know that. So I'm very happy with that. So what I was pointing out were those two bolts. So that one there and that one there. And that's the only thing I can really go off of. You know, that's my 0 point. Just turn this off. And everything else is going to work from that. So once again, I'm going to tack that in now, and hope for the best. I think I'll be fine. But the roof wasn't sitting quite correct. I kept looking at it going, yeah, it's right, but it's not right. So I'm going to focus on getting that right. Now that I've done that center section, I'm confident that it's sitting where it should. I'm going to tack that in. And this side is the correct length because the frame wasn't missing at the back. The frame was missing at the back on this side. So this side's a whole nother kettle of fish. But for now, I'm going to get this one tacked in. And that's where I'm going to go from. And then obviously if you look down there, I've got a bit of work to try and sort that out. But I'm very happy. And moving forward. What brought me to this point today was once I tacked these on yesterday, I need to get a reference point from, if you look on this diagram here, there's an arrow that goes from the bottom of the door pillar and it goes right to the other side. So it goes from here and it goes all the way up to there. So there's a straight line measurement from the corner there of the cab down to where the front nose section, the pillar, where this bolts to, the reference point between the pillar and the floor, that exact point, is a certain distance. And if I remember correctly, it's 2008 millimeters. So I'm trying to get to that point now, because I can rip one of those pillars off the front nose skin and then actually weld it in here at that exact right point, and then that'll give me a whole half of a vehicle pretty much where it's supposed to be, and then start working on other things. But getting the roof up there is one thing, but making sure that it's correct is another. So you know, it's with this vehicle, what I'm finding, and I mean, you can appreciate it, that you take one step forward but you've got to go back 6 or 7 and just tweak something that you did beforehand, and it brings you closer and closer towards where it's supposed to be. So if you remember, this was all rebuilt, and that was a line that I thought I needed, and it's not far off, but it's not correct. So you know, this is where I said earlier in one of my videos that I'd have to cut this and then remake this section. So, and you can see the roof sags a little bit here, so the gap between there and the gap between there is different. So what I have to do is work out what's going on, and I can't just start welding stuff together and hope for the best. It's got to be right. So I know that that's an exact point now, and I'm going to weld it in. To begin with, I was 1.5 inches in front. If you remember, that plane there was welded to the front part, which I thought it was supposed to be, so it's actually not. So I'm going to weld that where it is now. First off, I'll just make sure that this gap here is good, because this was just tacked together. So it's okay at the bottom and it's okay at the top. Yeah. I'm happy with that. I'll tack that in, and that's where we're going to go from. So, and if you look along the front of the vehicle, it doesn't look too bad now. I think that's pretty good. Let's just get a better line there. So what do you reckon about that line? Not too bad. Not too bad. Oh, one more thing before I go anywhere. Must not forget to do this every day. Water the lichen. Otherwise it will die. Alright, bring you back next time.